So welcome to week 2 of the weigh-in, which is a review looking at all the results in hot fishing points. And now we're on week 10. I'm joined again by Richard Chapman, and we're going to be looking at all the results for the clubs, the opens, the majors, and the overall season to see who is currently the best angler in the UK. So let's just jump straight into the majors.
So it's all changed a bit, hasn't it?
It really has.
So obviously, I suppose the first one we're going to have to look at, some bloke called Jamie Hughes is now leading it. So I think we've had a couple of results since the last show come in, haven't we? We've had, there's a Makins Fishermania that's happened, which has probably affected it quite a bit on the major side of things. I think if we dive into Jamie's results now, I'm sure that's the one, because he was second overall at Makins, so £178. He was only beat by John Alexander, who's had a mega day catching down the edge.
So let's take a look at that specific match.
So yeah, obviously second overall, mega result. Gonna be a bit frustrated that he's not qualified off there. I was having a chat to him. He's been on Lake 2, I think it is, the one that's split into A and B side, so it always gets dead confusing on the pegging. But he's had a mega day chucking a pellet wagger up to an island, I think it was. He's been doing that an awful lot on various venues there, the glebe, the old Uff, it's been coming into play, and literally he'll sit on it all day. Doesn't even matter if you're feeding much bait, it's just a case of chucking it in over and over, and it keeps going around with big carp. I think he's obliterated his section, and as I say, only John Alexander, who managed to beat him and qualify for I think it's his second big final of the year. So John's another one. He's jumped up about 18 places, I think it is, and he is one that's also brought into it. So in the running for the money and the prizes and all that fun stuff. Where was he?
Absolutely. We see John, he's in 13th position this week and up 18 places, so good on him.
Yeah, proper jumping position there, but he's been pretty consistent on the qualifying side of things. Not only has he qualified for 2, I think it is now, but he's always been up there with a nice sort of aggressive approach that he always has. And while we're talking about him, we can't not mention his mate Art Hilmy, who is jumped up a couple of places into 3rd overall, but also the important one, I suppose, is his leading it from people who've brought a ticket. So he's had a decent result, sort of 10th overall at Westwood, so another 6 points this week, bumping him up a bit. But yeah, as you can see, it's a steady results through the course of the season will really kind of bump your results up points wise, won't it? It's not just going to be about winning overall or second or third. If you can consistently finish in that top sort of 15 people, you're going to be picking up points, and especially on the major side of things, that's going to be massive.
Absolutely. And to your point last week, I think when you can actually see everyone's results like this, you can see that the people putting the miles, they're not always finishing in the top 10, but they just keep showing up.
Yeah, that's it. And it's getting that consistency and even having that motivation that you've not drawn a peg realistically with a chance of qualifying, but going to your peg, fishing a match, trying to get the most out of it rather than doing I'm not winning, packing up, going home, and all of that. But probably on that point, I've seen a result that Dale Shepherd, he qualified yesterday, so this will be one that gets mentioned probably on next week's show. But he's qualified
Midlands, right?
No, it was at the Golden Reel yesterday at Lindholm. Yeah. And he's qualified, but in the morning he was literally ready to go home, wasn't going to go to his peg. So it's one of those, everyone does it after the draw, has a bit of a moan, but so many times you're seeing it over the last few years.
Yeah.
Pegs that people moan about, they go and either framing or winning off them. So,
and I guess that's where this competition is going to add a nice dimension to that, right? You say, right, I can't win this, but if I can at least get in 5th place on the match, that's at the end of the season.
Same as going to going with a mentality, oh, I'm just going to win my section and try and win a few quid, you can be like, oh, I'll try and win my section and win a few points, which could potentially help towards a big check at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, other than that, I think Andy Bennett dropping a couple of places, but it's kept fairly consistent throughout. Lee Thornton jumping up a few. But yeah, at the moment, Jamie Hughes is building a bit of a cushion on there, and no doubt he's going to be kind of carrying on with the old qualifiers. No, he was on that Lindome qualifier as well that Dale won. Keeps drawing next to John Alexander. I think that's about the third time in about 4 matches he's been pegged next to him. So they've had their battles going on. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one unfolds. Christian, no doubt, he's going to be doing plenty more. So he could be right.
And there's still like 3 weeks as well, right? There's a lot of matches you can fish in that period. And when you have such big matches with so many people, it just takes a couple of stinkers or a couple of wins.
I suppose with having almost your droppers coming into play now, that you can take a rubbish week, replace it with one where you might be framing, and suddenly you're jumping up ridiculous places.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. So the season 13 weeks, we take your best 10 sessions out of the 13 weeks. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're at the exciting end of the season that you're going to see probably some random movements that you're not expecting.
Okay, Rich, so let's take a look at the open matches now.
So, yeah, Paul Jones still leading the way.
Kicking himself, right?
Probably the most frustrated angler on the hot fishing platform at the moment. Leading the way on that still. 102 points. I think, is he going to be the first one on the seniors that's broke 3 figures?
I think so at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, so what won it last year? How many points was it?
That's a good point. I'd have to check. I don't know off the top of my head.
But he could be almost on course for record-breaking points, but not having a ticket is going to win absolutely nothing for it, unfortunately. But I suppose a key battle we were looking at last week was Richard Kings and Richard Kinnersley. And as you can see now, just 1 week, there's a bit of space appeared between them. But it's a bit of a different one this week. So where are we? Richard Kings, he's obviously jumped up to, or stayed in second place, we should say. I think they were second and third last week.
Yeah.
But Richard Kinnersley, it's a bit of a different one, I think. He obviously is a Westwood regular, but this week it looks like the match he fished was actually in the major, so he was at Westwood for the Maven match for this qualifier, actually coming third overall, so it's proved just how good he is at the venue and everything. So third overall in a 90 pegger is no slouch there, but I think it was Jimmy Brooks who won that eventually. So he'll have got a load of points for that. £203, he's absolutely obliterated the field, and then I think everyone else was around that £100 mark. So that's probably affected the results a bit. Rich Kinnersley going for the qualifier.
You sacrifice one for the other if you're particularly chasing points on a category.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sort of focusing on your category is probably a bit easier than trying to cover them all. But obviously, as you can see, that it's getting quite tight. There's quite a few people getting up to or just over that 90 points mark who are all brought into it as well. There seems to be a lot more people buying in on the open side of things.
750 the winner. 500 for 3, 200 for 5th place. So still not something to get if you can still get in 5th position.
That's it. Plenty to be fishing for, and obviously you can do that. That sort of resets itself every, is it 12, 13 weeks? So
13 weeks. So there's a spring, summer, autumn and winter season. I think Amazon back in the day used to go almost over the year. And my thought was that is if we start to do that and someone runs away with it, people are going to lose interest. I think if it keeps resetting, it's just a bit more exciting, right?
Yeah, keeps it fresh and gives more people a chance of framing. And obviously there's them anglers that might not have the time all through the year, but they're like, through the spring I'm going to have a bit of time to fish and focus on it, and they can proper focus it on there and not sort of be penalised for they've got a busy work schedule or they're away on holiday for a few weeks and all that. So Yeah,
Exactly.
liking that, definitely. But yeah, Steve Kovac, he was up there last week, jumping up a place, taking over Richard Kinnersley. Again, I think Lake 8 at Bradshaw's, Stephen Kovac was on. He's been nice and consistent on there. I think he was a 4th overall, which was, yeah, he's fished a couple of club matches as well. But yeah, 4th overall on there. But yeah, as I say, Bradshaw's regular.
I like how Steve hedged his bets, and he because he knows he fishes clubs and opens. He was one of the only anglers that bought a ticket for each category as well. So, the man is fishing hard for clubs and opens.
So I suppose that's the thing. You can almost buy into both and kind of judge where you're halfway through the season. Think, oh, I'll put the effort into that one as I'm doing a bit better, and kind of tailor your fishing around that. But now it still seems to be the same sort of 4 or 5 anglers from last week that are kind of battling it out amongst themselves. But there's a few not far behind as well. That a couple of good weeks, and once your droppers start coming into play, that will definitely mix things up at the top.
Well, I think in the open matches, there's 3,981 unique anglers fishing in open matches across the country, which again that's a lot of anglers, right? That's absolutely the biggest category as matches.
But you've got to think it's going to be scary, a few months, few years potentially. There's that many little venues that haven't signed up yet that if you're dead interested, we was on about this before we came on, saying to actually find out a proper figure of how many anglers are fishing matches each month or each week or each year, because that's the thing, you've just not got the information at the moment. You've got the number of rod licenses sold, and that's pretty much it, and they could be going carp fishing, lure fishing, match fishing, whatever it might be. So it'd be dead interesting as the platform grows and everything to have that information available.
Exactly, and to see where the anglers are, like say how often they're going fishing, ages of anglers, all this kind of stuff that match fishing is on decline or it's old. Well, let's put some numbers behind that and see what's going on.
And proper be able to break it down to who's a better angler, Northerners or Southerners or Midlanders. I just want to get people competitive against each other, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I guess that's what you can do with your competitions, right? The Fish North, Fish South and Fish Midlands. Surely I can see where that's going of these kind of the Champions Leagues.
Yeah, it'd be mega if it does come off and you end up with some sort of ultimate top 5 from each final or something like that. Obviously, there's a long way to go with it being the first year for Fish Midlands, I think second year for Fish South, but so far it's been really well received and everything. So hopefully as it grows and you get more people onto it, if you can do something like that, it'd be a nice spectacle to watch, hopefully.
So taking a look at the club table now, Rich.
Yeah, we've still got Steve Johnson way out in front. Are we saying 13 points? He's got a comfortable margin, hasn't he? But it's still not beyond the realms of possibility. Another Tunnel Barn regular, I think we had a look at a few of his results last week. Fishes quite a lot of the over 50s and stuff, had a 4th place this week. But I think the angler that was an interesting one this week, one that's not brought into the competition, but Tom Barlow, obviously jumping up 14 places, is probably the biggest climber on that first board. But what was interesting with Tom is the venues he's fishing. So obviously he's registered under the Deep Canal matches as his organiser. But you look through the last few results, he's got Fleets Dam, which is it's carp fishing, but kind of more like a dam. Well, sort of like a dam. It's called a dam. It's going to be a dam. But he's got kind of Stainforth and Steny Canal, I'll say that because it's easier. Fishing canals, that I think there's a couple of commercials further down. And it's been mega consistent across the board as well. You can see a lot of kind of first and frame places on there. But he's probably the first angler that's popped up that is right up there and doing it on a multitude of different venues. That sort of proves on the canal catching £8, it's still got the same amount of points. It doesn't affect it, because I think this is one of the things you get an awful lot is, well, I fish canals, I can't compete against commercials. It doesn't make a difference on this, and he's proven it. He's jumped up a load of places right up there in the mix. If he'd have brought a ticket, he could be in with a chance of winning 750 quid come the end of, well, I say 750 quid. This is one of the things. The club one is like got mega sponsorship as well, hasn't it? From Preston Innovations.
Yeah, they just wanted to invest more in the club side of fishing. So yeah, they've given out rods, reels, boxes, coaching days with dares. So if you go to the website and click on prizes, you can see all the different prizes. But absolutely, this is the one to win, and this is the one where I think it's interesting who's bought tickets, right? So first place is going to get the first, and then second place is going to come down to the person in 10th position. So
yeah,
I think we'll be
that was the thing when you look at it, 750 quid, you got a day's coach. This is for first with day's coaching with Des. I think they're probably, if you can even book him, is going to be like 300 quid plus. Superior rod, that's like 220 quid, 100 quid a bait. It's mega, isn't it? For 50 quid ticket, you've got cash, prizes, coaching days, and probably help you win it again the next season when you've had a nice coaching day with Des.
Exactly, and I think a lot of the organisers of these club matches as well, what they pretty much want is bums on seats, right? You want to have bigger matches and more people, and I think by winning these and being on here as well, you're getting some exposure for your club as well, so you can just keep your club going and get more people coming along to the matches. Yeah,
well, it'd be mega to have that proper database of club, because having worked in tackle shops and all that is the biggest question for people kind of coming into it. Everyone's like, oh, well, yeah, you get told you need to fish club matches, but unless you're in that loop and in that little click, trying to find out about them is so difficult. So if you can literally go on here, find your local club, find what venues are fishing and what suits you, it's going to make it so much easier for people sort of coming into match fishing, wanting to give it a go. And then obviously you've got all the benefits of being involved in the competition and being able to see how you're doing against everyone else.
Absolutely. If we look at the people who are in positions 3, 4 and 5, like, I'm on a personal level happy to see this. Ray and Ken in 14th and 15th are huge advocates of hot fishing, and they're southern anglers really pushing it amongst kind of southern anglers as well. So I'm really glad.
What venues are they on? That's the thing, there's so many different venues to sort of find out about, isn't it? These are sort of venues that you're never going to hear about other than through this. You're not going to have people filming on them, and it's not like your makings and your tunnels and all those ones where you hear about them all the time. But there's going to be these venues. Well, Coleman's, I know, I used to fish that when I lived in Milton Keynes. But yeah, other than that, it's just a mega way of finding out about your different venues, and there's going to be venues like on your doorstep that you don't know about, isn't there?
Absolutely. And I think that's probably something we can start to do with this kind of weekly roundup show a little bit more. There's probably more I can do to kind of bring the venues to the front as well. So just like maybe some nice summaries, or just to kind of get some exposure from other people. So some of the venues from around the country that wouldn't normally get it. So that's a good idea, actually. Like, how else can we promote fishing through this show, and venues that need some eyeballs on them, clubs, the anglers in which we're trying to do here.
Yeah, it'd be dead interesting to find out about them. And were they both down south as well, where that's a moan you hear a lot of the time, especially when it comes to big events, is whether it's due to numbers of anglers or just number of anglers wanting to fish qualifiers. They don't get the amount that you do in the Midlands and the North, but this gives you something to fish for whatever level you're at, and whether you're right down south, right up north, or somewhere in between.
Exactly. If you're fishing north or south, someone still has to win your match. And bringing it back to the overall table to see what's going on, so we can see Paul A. Jones. So again, it's pretty tight at the top still.
Yes, I think it's got a lot tighter. Paul still leading the way. What's he going to be thinking now? Is he going to be, I want to win it to prove a point, or is he thinking, I hope I don't bloody win this? So he's got that going on. Richard Kings and Richard Kinnersley, again, it's on the actual open table, there's a bit more space between them, but with him fishing on the qualifier and finishing third overall at I'm going to say Western Pools, it's Westwood. I always get them two mixed up. Obviously, it's kept them dead close on the overall, and that's where it starts to come into play. Fishing on sort of your opens and your qualifiers, or your majors, as you call them.
So we're looking at the most placements in the specific categories of match. So the clubs, the opens, and the majors. And if you win the overall, it's the bonus 500 quid prize that you get for that. Again, I'm sure as this goes on, it'll be nice to make that the bigger prize out of all of them. But as it's scaling and growing, I think people seem from the feedback I was getting, they'd rather win within their category, thinking that that's where I'm fishing most.
Yeah, so if a club angler ends up winning the overall as well, they've got all 750 quid, the coaching day, the rods, the reels, and then an extra 500 on top of that as well.
Exactly.
So it just keeps going up and up. But yeah, I think that's stayed fairly consistent compared to last week. Christian Jones is one who's... I was having a look at a couple of his blogs, and he seems to be one that, for someone as consistent as he is, he's on a little sort of bad run of drawing at the moment, and you can see how quick he's only had a week or two where he's not scored quite so highly, and he's suddenly dropping right down, where if you looked a couple of weeks ago, you'd be like, well, he's running away with it, he's up there, nothing's going to happen. So it's dead quick on a couple of bad weeks or a couple of good weeks, you can be jumping up and down that table.
Exactly. And that's why I added this ranking, showing you if you go up or down on that. I think that shows that, wow, shit, it can really change, right?
Yeah, because do you want to show what you were showing us earlier on the shareability on that? So if you are coming onto this, looking at your results, if you wanted to just do a dead quick update on Facebook or something like that, you can just quickly click share, can't you? And
absolutely. So everybody likes to show off a little bit. So if you click this drop down here, there's a share button near everybody. So if you click that, what you'll get is this image here that you can just tap it, save it to your phone photos, and share it on social media. And you can see this is custom to wherever you are. So put your name on here, shows your status of all your different matches, where you're ranking, and how many places you've gone up. So if you're doing well, it's a nice way to just kind of, it's just a smarter season report, right? It's like a better match report.
Yeah, just a nice way of sharing it on Facebook or Instagram, which everyone does, but at the moment it's sort of a scrappy sheet of paper that's generally like wet through and falling to bits, and you can't read half the names on it anyway. So
3 more weeks of this, and we're hoping we're going to start to bring in some guest presenters with us as well, so we can start to have some venue experts come on, the people that have got tickets, to bring them on, talk about their season and what's going on. So as the weeks go on, I think this show in itself is going to become more dynamic, and I think my ambition for this show is that people can actually use it to improve their fishing, which is why I love the idea of venue experts as well. If you know you're going somewhere, you can actually get the tips of people who you can see are winning the matches and what they're actually doing.
Yeah, someone a bit better than us at fishing and knows what they're doing.
Exactly. Cool. All right then, Rich, thank you, my friend.